On this episode, we're going to be talking about ball motion with our guest host, Damn Good Average Bowler. What type of motions are there? What should you focus on? And the signs it could give you to make good adjustments. All that and more on Let's Talk Bowling. This is Let's Talk Bowling. I'm Go Time. We have Coach Geek down at the bottom, and y'all know this man at the top. This is Michael Price, aka Damn Good Average Bowler.
Hey, everybody.
For the show. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm fantastic. I'm on vacation this week, so trying to get my mind right before I got to go back on Monday to the shop.
That is a wonderful thing because from your series of the questions with the bowlers that come and ask you, I could tell that you need a break sometimes.
That's 17 and a half years worth of stuff, y'all.
Yeah, nice.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, Mike, first we got you introduced. Your last name is Price, like the Price is Right, but let people know who you really are. Where you got your start with bowling. How did you come to love bowling, and how did you come doing what you do? As far as not just bowling, your show, all that stuff. Like, give us a backdrop history of you yourself, Mr. Michael Price.
So I started bowling when I was 5 years old. That's 3.5 decades ago because I just turned 40 on Sunday. I liked baseball a lot. And I was playing as a kid. I was doing baseball when I was bowling. So it was like summertime was baseball, fall time was bowling. And when I turned 12, I was pitching one day and something just went out in my arm. I could not throw heat like I normally could. And I was throwing like 70 miles an hour, which at the time was pretty good for a 12-year-old.
Oh yeah, I played some baseball.
But they always told us just to throw heat. They weren't like, say, hey, throw a curveball or throw a screwball or a slider. They wanted you to just throw heat because your arm was still developing. Well, I threw heat one too many times and I heard it go. I mean, it was like not everybody could hear it, but I felt it. And it just was never the same after that. So naturally, when you can't overhand, well, you underhand. And I started really focusing more on my bowling. When I threw my first reactive ball when I was 14. So that was 1998. Got a couple lessons, and I was bowling full time after that. It was like I was down at the bowling alley every day practicing because as a young kid you had nothing to do. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I was just into it every single day, just like and not only that, like I got a dishwashing job when I was 16, and then one of the bowling alleys here, they were running a tournament called the Southern Bowling Congress.
Yep.
Hosting, I think, the team event, and that is when I really got my trial by fire because we were working 12-hour days, both days of the weekend because it was full squads and it was a 30-lane house. And that's when I actually started learning how to oil the lanes at 16, and eventually the temp employee hire became a full employee hire, and I was oiling the lanes every day for league. And I worked about 4 or 5 hours, go to class, stuff like that. And then I would I ended up working just about every bowling alley here in Huntsville because that's where I'm from. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, born here, still here. One of the few 2.5% of people that were born in Huntsville that are still here. And basically fast forward a little bit, 2007, I really started getting into the pro shop aspect of the business and put an email into my boss. Well, my boss now, he wasn't my boss then. I was like, hey, I was a shift leader for AMF, so I know all about AMF, Bolero, all that. I've been there, done that. And he ended up emailing me back saying, hey, we need 2 more people, and we're looking to hire. I just need to make sure it's okay with your boss, the general manager at the time. And everything was copacetic with it. I did a 5-day crash course in Columbia, Tennessee at the old Robbie's plant when it used to be Ebonite Galaxy lanes. Now it's 10-pin alley. And Jeff Usery was my instructor, which I credit him. Jeff is incredibly patient. He's incredibly kind. And for somebody that, struggled with math in school, you having to learn angles and, numbers and degrees and so on and so forth, in the pro shop, I got a really good crash course. And luckily there was only 3 of us there. We got to tour the Hopkinsville plant, which I tell people all the time, if you go into a bowling manufacturing facility and you have a head cold, you're going to come out of there not having a head cold because of some of the stuff they use in there is just insane.
Oh boy.
So, but April 2nd, 2007, and I've been I'm working for Jeff McCorvey of Bowling World. I don't know if y'all have heard of Jeff, but
I don't know Jeff, but I know Alex.
You know Alex? Yeah. Well, I see Alex every once in the blue moon too because he's traveling for us, but Jeff's the boss man, and he's actually been in business for 40 years now. So I think we're in multiple states. I've lost track of the amount of stores we have in the states that we're in right now. But I recently became the shop manager for the location I'm at in October of 22 because my old manager of 31 and a half years, he left, so I took over. So that's pretty much just a quick synopsis of me and who I am, and basically it's just bowling. And I mean, if there's anybody who wants to know anything else on the side about me, I like The Legend of Zelda. I know I've done a bunch of streams, me playing Zelda. I have a very big collection of Green Ranger stuff here. I don't know if you guys saw one of my TikToks where I actually bowled in the Green Ranger helmet.
I did not, but that's cool.
So you get a chance to check that out. But I mean, like I said, I'm just like the blue collar. I'm like the blue collar guy, all for the little guy, the underdog.
Okay.
Oh, you fit right in with us.
I mean, bowling is a kind of a blue collar sport, even though these prices are getting ridiculous.
No doubt.
You're not kidding.
Just wanted to interject. I bowled nationals in Huntsville, Alabama, way back when they came through there.
1997.
Yeah. Hey, Dwight, if that gives you any indication of how long I've been doing that.
I already know you've been doing it longer than me. You got me by like 10 years.
Yeah,
I just
it's
39 yesterday, so
that was a fun trip, Huntsville, Alabama.
You know those lane surfaces you bowled on during that ABC tournament? We just recently, Jeff just actually took over the Madison Bowling Center, and we have a shop in. We actually took over the bowling center on a lease, and it's the same lane surface beds.
Oh wow, that's a little bit of history back from 1997. Knowing that I bowled on those, I might have to make a trip just to go do that again.
Dude, I'm telling you, I think bowling's cooling down a little bit here, but Huntsville's growing as a whole. There's so many transplants. So, I mean, and the place, I've been in my home since 2012, and it has exponentially grew in 12 years.
yeah, it's something about the northern Alabama, northern Mississippi part of the state that grows. Like Huntsville is growing. I know it's been growing since I met Alex back in 2008, and he was like, "Man, Huntsville is just growing." And South Haven, Mississippi, is just like that. It's just for some reason those parts of the states, these 2 states, are just growing really fast and getting a lot of things up there. Now, you didn't tell us about your stats. Like, what is your high game? Which I'm pretty sure you have quite a few 300s. You've been doing it for a minute. Any 800s? Anything like that?
Well, I did tell you guys I do have 24 300s and 800s. I mean, again, I don't want to come off like I don't know myself, but I've had 17 800s.
Nicely done.
And my last one was earlier this year. So was my 3. I don't think I've done either one of them since like March.
No, the fans.
That's a few more than I've got.
Well,
I'm still trying to get double digits.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys, one of my best years collectively in a season was 21-22. I had 5 300s and 5 800s in a single season, and I may never have that experience again, and I'm okay with that. But like the feeling I always tell people is if you're going after 300 or you're going after 800, if you're not the least bit nervous, it's time to take up underwater basket weaving or find something else to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those types of seasons come up. I reached up, I grabbed the one honor that I got. I was nominated to the men's honor team in 22-23. I had a season like that. I think I had 3 or 4 300s and an 800, and I think I averaged 233, something like that. Sometimes those seasons just happen. It's like I'll never forget that 22-23 season for sure. So
Absolutely. And another thing, I always use this as a footnote, but I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Tony Churchy. He's like one of arguably the best bowlers in the state of Alabama. I actually out-averaged him in our league last year, so I kind of it just took me 20 years to do, but I finally did it.
Tony, I've witnessed Tony Churchy at an Emerald Coast. No, not Emerald Coast. I'm sorry, at Emerald Coast and at a Double Diamond.
Double Diamond. Well, Tony's a mentor of mine, and I remember when I was a youth bowler, and he came up to me and gave me a towel he got from Nationals. I still have that towel.
Wow.
When you're like 17, 18, and one of the best bowlers in the state, arguably, gives you something. It's just like it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, he is.
Nice.
He is truly an awesome bowler. I've witnessed it, and he is. That's great that you've been mentored by him.
If you ever see him again, just tell if you ever see him, just tell him that he's also been dubbed the Timeless Wonder. He'll know exactly where it came. He'll know exactly where it came from and from who.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Now, Timeless Wonder.
Well, no, you guys were talking about like styles and stuff. It's just like I use him as the example, as the standard. I know we have like two-handed and everything now, but Tony is so simplistic. He doesn't. Today's game, it's probably the most blandest, boringest thing in the world. But if boring gets you averaging 235 to 240 every year, give me boring. I don't care.
He's not lying. Tony, I've watched him bowl, and it's not the most elaborate, but it works. I had a few people I heard that was like, man, he just throws it in the same spot. I said, but he's striking. You can't get mad about him striking.
Exactly.
Accuracy, man. Accuracy and consistency. We've talked about both.
Yes, we have. Now, speaking of accuracy and consistency, we have a thing on this show where we like to ask all our guests about true average. What do you think the true average mean? And when we ask that, we're talking about between what you see on house and what you see on sport. Which I'm pretty sure you've ran some sport tournaments before and bowled on sport. But what do you think is truly your average when it comes to the bowling world?
Well, lifetime average, I mean, I would probably say I'm between 215 and 225. I mean, I just collectively averaged 230 my first season back in 2017. So I would say between 215, 225 lifetime on house. Sport-wise, I mean, it's been a while since I've bowled on sport patterns, but you're right, I have bowled on them a time or 12. And, depending on which one, it's probably anywhere from 160 to 180.
Okay.
We always talk about that, how much of a drop off it is and how easy house patterns are versus those types of patterns where you actually have to, like, you're not just out there slinging it wherever you feel like, and you've actually got to have all those tools.
Yeah. Well, I still say this, okay, with house shots, and I've talked about this time and time again with people I've had on my show and stuff. It could be the easiest shot in the world, but you still got to repeat the shot, and you still got to have a lot of luck because, I mean, how many certified 900s are there right now? 20-something? 25, 26, 20, whatever the net number is exactly. I mean, you still got to have luck.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, let's go off and kick off our topic of discussion.
Yeah, so our topic of discussion is ball motion and the little keys and tricks and the things that it can tell us, and why we, as bowlers, it's important for us to watch the ball all the way off your hand, all the way down the lane, and all the way off the pin deck. All of the different things that it can tell you. So I think we'll just kick it off with letting you talk about what the different stages of ball motion are and the types of things that you see in those stages.
Well, I stay pretty. You guys are going to learn with me. I'm pretty basic about stuff. I don't get too technical, but basically skid, hook, roll. I mean, the three stages of it, I mean, you could get into your ball motions of like, does it arc? Does it go long and strong? Is it angular? Is it early rolling? Is it whatever the case may be. But, I stay with a traditional skid hook roll. And to your point too, Coach, I definitely believe in watching the entire motion because the lane and I mean the ball you roll in the lane is going to tell you what to do. It's going to tell you what adjustment you need to make. It's going to tell you whether to move left, move right, more up the back of it, hook it, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. So we're going to throw a scenario out there because a lot of people don't know, and a lot of bowlers in general, and I think we all can agree on this. We think we know it all. We think we're experts. We think we can coach the next person. We think we could do all these things. And when faced with actual adversity and what we're doing, we don't have a clue. And it's really detrimental to the sport how much knowledge is really known of what to do when we have certain pin leaves, when we have certain taps. Everybody wants to call like the 9 and 8 true taps. They're really not. I learned that over a decade ago, but then there's still so much more I've learned since then. But it's like I learned when I got to that particular point, like, okay, if I left the 9 pin, I know that the ball backed up somehow, so I need to change something somewhere. It wasn't until recently, the last few years, that I learned exactly what. But with where I'm going with it is, what for you, if let's say you leave an 8 pin, what would be the adjustment for you, or what is it that you've noticed in your ball motion to make you know that, okay, I need to change something on that shot because I left the 8 pin, something happened between my last strike and coming back and then throwing this ball and now I leave the 8 pin. What is it that's going through your mind? What's the calculation? What's the thought process?
Well, first of all, I try to keep myself positive because to me it's like you rolled a really good ball, and a lot of people get away from you. And I'm going to answer your question a little bit more in tune here in detail, Dwight. But let me put it to you like this: if you leave, let's say you're on like a four bagger, you go 4 or 5 in a row, and then you get an 8 pin tap. What normally happens is we tighten up, and we end up throwing an errant shot because we're not loose and relaxed. Mm-hmm. And that usually is what happens to me. I will get up there, I'll leave and I know if I leave a 9 pin, it's like, okay, that ball went really high. I'm lucky I didn't leave a 4-9 or something. Or if I leave a 4, well, I'm lucky I didn't leave the 9 with it, vice versa. But my thought process when it comes, like, if I stone an 8 pin, I'm not gonna do that, like that knee jerk reaction just yet. I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm rolling it good. Let's keep this going. And if it happens again, which I think out of my whole time of bowling, I have maybe went back to back solid 8 pins twice or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So
Dwight did pick that 1 pin for the right-handers that, like, I don't know what adjustment to make usually. If I leave an 8 pin and it looked good, I just roll the same ball.
Well, and I'm with you. Like, I agree with it because if I try to make an adjustment, I usually don't make adjustments unless I know that the lane is doing something that is just absolutely goofy that I've not seen before. Mm-hmm. I'm not really the extreme adjustment maker as far as my style of play.
Okay. Well, Geek, what would you do? I know what I would do.
Well, like I said, for an 8 pin, I don't think I'd make any adjustment at that particular moment in time. I gotta agree with Mike. That's one of those pins that could be offset just a tiny bit. It could be the littlest thing that you don't see. 9 pins, 10 pins, 7 pins, 4 pins, 4, 9. A lot of those leaves, there's a lot of adjustments. But for an 8 pin, I mean, if I was watching my ball all the way through and it looked like it did everything right, I don't know if I'd make any adjustment. At least not unless I like Mike said, unless I left 2 or 3 in a row, and then there might be something wrong. But I'll leave 3, 4, 10 pins in a row, and I'm definitely making adjustments. I don't know about 8 pins, so.
Use the trains. My mother-in-law lives next to a train, so My take on the 8-pin is throw it better. Throw
I
it
like
better.
where you went with that, Dwight. I got you.
Throw it better. There is no real adjustment to it. I mean, the ball came into the pocket, it deflected, but it still hit. But ultimately, it's something small you did. So it's like, okay, let's just redo the shot. Now, 9-pins, of course, like Mike said, I would totally like, okay, let me move a board left because I know that last shot I got it out and it drove. And if I know and believe that I hit that spot correctly, then I'm noticing that lane is changing just a little bit in that spot where I left the 9-pin. I don't leave many, and I really for sure rarely leave any 8-pins. So that was kind of a talker question because I don't. I think I left one once last couple months, and trust me, my face dropped. I mean, I think y'all might have seen the TikTok where I had that rarely happens. Yeah. It truly rarely happens. When it does, it is a like, what the, you know what? Yeah. I'm not going to worry about that.
I can tell you this though, I have left a stone 8-pin for $2.99.
Ooh.
I have.
You can't say nothing about that though.
No, you can't say nothing, but in your head, you're saying a whole lot. You're saying a lot.
Maybe one or two things.
So I'll be saying a lot. With $2.99, leave an 8-pin. I'll take the 7-pin, even a 10, but not an 8.
I left a 5 for a $2.99. I'll trade it.
Look, it happened during that time when they still gave you $2.99 rings, so I was okay with it.
Wow,
there you go.
I
got a couple of them blue ones.
95. So trust me, the 8-pin would definitely make me mad. Now, following up on that question though, the 8-pin and all that stuff, what is really important about watching where the ball leaves off the back of the deck? Because I think it's safe to say a lot of bowlers don't. They see the ball hit the pocket and then that's where they stop. A lot of bowlers
almost like a flashes out of their brain.
And it's like, explain to our audience and your audience how important it is to really watch where the ball exits off the back of the lane.
Well, it's really important, but one of the more important aspects of that is establishing what it did, because there's so many misconceptions about leaves and such. Like when I'm coaching and I'm giving lessons, a lot of people can't tell the difference in 10-pin leaves. And again, that's not a knock to them, because when you're not educated about it, you're learning about it. That's one thing. But the problem behind that is like, okay, that was what was obviously a weak 10. It's like, nope, that wasn't a wrap 10. That was a weak 10. Well, but it did this. And it's like, no. So I always, when I'm coaching people, it's like, watch it. Like you guys said, watch it the whole way. And the way to do that is have them practice balance. And because I was always taught, if you maintain balance, like your idea of perfect balance is when you let go of the ball, you're post it, and you do not let up off your post until the ball completes its entire cycle, which means including going back through the pins. And not only that, it tells you where your game is at as far as balance. And to me, balance is the most important part of your game. If you don't have balance, you're all over the place.
That is
Amen.
That is a good answer, a very good answer. Like in this recent years since doing TikTok, I've learned that a lot of my 10-pin leads are not. I don't really pay attention to whether it's a wrap 10 or whether it's a weak 10. I'm looking more at the ball motion, and since I've been recording and looking at it, I notice a lot of times the ball for me when I leave a 10-pin is deflecting. It's not driving through, and since I've made that adjustment and seen that, it's like, okay. When I see a 10-pin now, it's like, now I know, depending on how many I leave. Like some shots, you can have an errant shot and then it just comes in really wide. And it's like, you kind of expect it to leave a 10-pin. No, and then everybody in the back's like, oh, yeah, that was a good shot. And you're in your head like, no, not really. I got lucky, really. If it did strike. No, I kind of expected it to leave that. But then when you make that adjustment and you made a really good shot and it goes through and leave a 10-pin, it's like, now it's automatic. I know, okay, I got to do something a little different because now I know and I've seen the ball when it deflected and went that way. Okay, it's not driving through. I need to do something different. So definitely it's important, y'all, to start watching how the ball goes through the pins so that you can know that you need to do something. Because The signs are in the details. If you watch the details and you learn them and learn the language, then you know for sure this is what I need to do. Now we've already discussed about the different types of motions: early roll, continuous, skid flip, etc. You kind of touched that on it early, but I'm going to go ahead and put a twist on that and ask, what is your favorite type of motion? Do you like early rolling equipment? Do you like continuous, or is it just based off of whatever you need at the time?
Well, just to give you guys an idea here, one of my favorite balls, and two of my favorite balls in the bag right now is the MV Tour Pearl and the Effect. And both of those are Pearl. And when you play it as straight as I do, you need the ball to go long. Mm-hmm. And it almost seems kind of oxymoron-ish in a sense, but it's like, if I don't have a lot of hand, you would think that I would match up very well with solids. And that's not always the case.
No.
My big thing is, like, I match up the best right now with Pearl. Now, surprisingly, I match up very well with Pearl, but my highest set I've ever bowled, which was 828, I did it with the Black Widow 2.0 hybrid. So it's kind of like the best, I guess the best of both worlds, if that's the. But I like ball motion that are based on pearls. And some of the bowling balls I've liked the best, like my first 300 game was with a Hammer Blade Pearl back in 2003. My first 800 was with a Track Exception, and I had 27 in a row for that 800. And then I had most of my 300s have come from pearls. Like I did one with the Effect. I did one with the MV Tour Pearl. Again, it's just like, and another one I would hate myself if I left this out is the Game Breaker 2 Gold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Pearl, my answer is Pearl. Sorry,
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Hey, Dwight, just on that, it just dawned on me. We were talking to Josh not too long ago, and he's been really gravitating towards the pearls. And what he said with the speed thing, Josh is very speed dominant. I mean, he throws a really fast ball. It's making more sense now why the Paragon Pearl and now that the Harsh Reality, he's liking those so much.
Well, I mean, you think about what a pearl is, what pearls do. I mean, they're a skid flip type ball. They get down, store energy. A lot of times, like even myself, especially bowling on sport, I find myself, if I don't need the solid, I gravitate more towards the hybrids, towards the pearls, because they'll give me the lift I need to get down the lane, but then they have that recovery, to get back to the pocket, because you don't always need something to roll early and think it's going to get through the pins, and it don't. For a perfect example, I have an OG Conspiracy. It sits in my closet as a paperweight right now, because every time I use it, I leave loads of 10 pins. I'll leave the whole back row, and it's because the ball is so strong and so early. But I go pick up my DV8 Prowler, knocking the pins down, throwing it in the same spot. It's a matter of energy. Energy is very important in knocking down the pins. I get a lot all the time with the way I bowl. Man, you throw that ball hard. I really don't. I really don't. I'm just good at putting it in the pocket with a perfect amount of energy. If I threw it hard, you would know, because it's probably going to go in the gutter, or it's probably not going to hook. Because my maximum speed, if I were to really put heat on it, per se, is like 19, 20 something miles an hour. And I only can maintain that maybe on a spare shot. To throw a strike shot and a spare shot all the time, I couldn't maintain that type of speed. But it's just the amount of efficiency to get that ball with the right amount of energy to the pocket that's what makes it hit so hard. So a lot of people just have that as a misconception. But I like a good mix. I like pearls. I like solids. It really depends on where I want to play. I like playing straighter. I mean,
I like what you were talking about with the energy thing. I try to explain that to people, and I use like sliding on ice on a car sometimes. Mass energy versus kinetic energy, which goes right along with ball motion. When you get the ball moving the right way with the right energy down lane, if it's sliding too far, it's got no energy. It's all mass and it just deflects everywhere. If you roll it up too early, it's just going to die out. But if you've got that really, down lane and it picks up at the right time and it's got all that stored energy, it's like a car accident. Slide into a car, you bounce off. Drive into a car, and you're going to do some damage.
Yeah. I mean, it baffled me going to my first nationals and seeing so many people throw pearl. and I'm looking at everybody throwing pearl, and they're struggling. They're getting inconsistent reactions. They're getting this and that, but then the people who were throwing duller equipment had more control, had more finish. So before I set my first set on teams, I made sure I had at least 2 bowling balls that was dulled down because the pearl just wasn't working right on the fresh. It's really just knowing what's going to work for you in your style, but being able to look at ball motion and translate into, okay, what is it that I need to make me successful on what I'm seeing as far as ball reaction on the lane. So it's good to have a good mix, and I like having a good mix. No, I gravitate more to solids most of the time, but one of my favorite bowling balls is a DVA Prowler. It's a pearl. No, I've shot a lot of 800s with pearls. Matter of fact, I think all my honor scores are with pearls, and maybe a few with hybrids. I don't think I have any with. No, I'm sorry. The DVA Nightmare was a solid. That was a solid, and that was one of my favorite balls. So yeah, that 800 and 300 with that. Yeah, of course, that one was good. And wait, that Optimus Solid too. Yeah, that one. There's so much going on, and you just forget all this.
I feel like the guy left out over here because I don't have as many as either one of you guys.
He's more than triple mine, but we're going to go with a specific question. So, with your style, we'll all be able to comment on it, whatever. With your style, what type of motions do you focus on when it comes to certain patterns? So, like if you're bowling on a longer pattern, what do you tend to gravitate to then? Do you tend to stay with the slot pearls? Because I understand needing length and needing the ball to get down lane and store is one thing, but if it's a longer pattern, what do you see yourself going into then?
Longer pattern, I'm using something dull, and I'm usually using something symmetric. And I was going to make that point that y'all were talking about a few minutes ago too. A lot of my customers that I drill stuff up that are going to nationals, the feedback I get is you're matching up the best with solid symmetric pieces, which is why I think the Game Breaker series is so popular at nationals, because I've had people come back and go, you'd be amazed at, like, I think it was like when the Game Breaker 2 originally came out, like I was hearing everybody come back going, man, I love that ball at nationals. I love the way it rolled. It matched up so well. But no, if it's a longer oil pattern, I mean, I'm getting something dull and I'm getting something symmetric and I'm playing it tight. I'm moving into the middle and I'm playing it as tight as I can. You don't want to leak it outside, because unless you can overpower the oil pattern. I mean, but think about it. You're bowling on, what do y'all consider long? 44, 45 feet and longer? That's about
right for me.
Anything over 45 is long.
Yeah, 42 is like kind of normal for most places. So yeah, anything longer than that, 44 and up and out.
Yeah. So, I mean, like for me, it's like right now, like with my arsenal, long oil pattern, I'm going to hit my Game Breaker 5 with 1,000 pad fresh, and I'm going to get in the middle, and I'm going to try to play the track as most as I can. Because, I mean, especially like patterns like challenge pattern like Route 66, and I mean, even if you're bowling on a pro pattern like Shark, I mean, you got to play it in. There's only those few people that are considered anomalies that can play it right up the 2 board.
Yeah.
And the only 2 that come to mind that I know can play up the 2 board on a long pattern like that is Walter Ray and, well, I got a buddy of mine in Ohio. His name's Jackson Stiles. He's a young kid. He come out of Tennessee Southern, Martin Methodist, where Bob and Amaletto coached him, and he could play up the 2 board and just absolutely annihilate everybody when everybody's struggling to get in and keep their shots very tight.
Okay. Now, what would you suggest since a lot of us see this particular pattern, because not all of us see long. Me and you, we live in the South, so long patterns really don't exist too much down here. But what about clift? Because we see short patterns, and we kind of have an answer for that. Most people probably just go to urethane. They're like, oh, I'm going to urethane. But on a clift pattern, because that's what a lot of us see, especially with
maybe
house.
Explain, for a few people too that may not know, just give a quick explanation of what we're talking about with clift also. I think we know, but
I have heard so many different definitions of clift. Y'all tell me what your definition of it is, and I will be able to answer that accordingly. Because I've heard many different, many dollars.
I run into it. What I consider clift is when you've got a lot of power inside players and they're pushing the oil to the edges just a little bit more. Whereas usually you're going to move left you're going to get the ball outside. There's going to be that dry, and you can continue to kind of move left a little bit. You run into certain teams that we bowl against here, and they're all just running up to 10. They just kind of move the oil out of the middle. Next thing you know, there is no edge. And if you get out to a certain point where you think, oh yeah, that's going to be dry, it's going to come back, and it just, that's my definition of cliff.
So basically, you're almost saying like over under type reaction.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's, for me, that's over. Cliff is always meant over and under to me.
Okay.
Because you know, you move in, it doesn't come back. When you move back right, it takes off.
No, yeah. Oh no, and I mean, and again, this is always going to be up for debate, no matter what. I think it's going to keep a lot of us in doing podcasting for bowling and stuff. But you know, Clifton, a lot of people blame urethane. I know there are people that have the opinion that urethane should not be used on a house shot. And I know people that believe and live and die by urethane. And, you know, me personally, I mean, again, if it's over under, like, here's the thing. If I were to look at you guys, and y'all know I'm averaging 225 to 230, and I'm looking at y'all and I'm griping at y'all about, oh my God, they're cliffed, y'all. They don't know what I'm going to do. Does that really speak to my skill of 225 or 230 on a house shot? No. That just sounds like anybody that just like is upset that it's not going their way. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that as in a negative, because I'm saying it because I've been that guy that has done that before. And I've had to learn, you know, trial by fire here of how to be able to overcome that. And my way of playing it, my recommendation to people is like, okay, it's really over under. What do you do? I tell people all the time, play outside the trash. Play outside the trash.
Yep.
Yeah, whenever I see that, I usually wind up going to a bigger, duller ball, and everybody's like, oh my God, what are you doing? And I move right, and I play in it, and it gets down lane, it comes out of it with a lot of power. I don't have a problem. But a lot of people will just continue to try to stay left, and it just slides right in, and they'll even washouts. They're going through the 3-pin, and they have no clue what to do. And I moved back right, and they have no idea what I'm doing.
Usually the problem is you go 5 in a row and then you leave a bucket. And it's like, okay, what happened between that 5th strike in a row and that shot?
Yeah, and what's sad is, and it's I saw this last Thursday, when they threw an okie doke shot out there on us, is the ability to play straight is gone from a lot of bowlers these days. The reason why Walter Ray, Norm, Duke, a lot of those guys lasted so long, and then with the newer equipment and being able to still win up until a certain point, was because they were accurate as hell, and they understood a lot of this stuff before they went out there on a pro tour. And then when they're out there on the pro, they're still seeing more, gathering more information. And I'm sorry, that you're a deadly weapon when you have all that knowledge, all that skill, and all that accuracy, and you give them a ball that does a lot of the work for you. No, I've literally had the honor of watching, well, not the honor, I was on YouTube, bowling surfing, and saw a video of Pete Weber versus Steve Jaros from 1985, and then 10 years later, them two versus each other again with newer equipment. And I was like, you know what, this would be interesting to watch. And the ball reactions are night and day. Completely different from 85 to 95. The carry from 95 was much more explosive, where you look at 85, you had to be really accurate to get the ball to even go through the pins. And that type of skill is gone from today's game. So, like you're saying, move on top of the cliff and just play it straight. A lot of people can't do that.
Yeah.
I'll try to tell someone, or try to coach somebody sometimes virtually, and tell them, look, play straight. And I have to remember, not everybody can play straight. Some people are stuck, and I have to give an angle.
I like straight.
It hurts though.
Great.
I love to play straight. I mean, naturally my rev rate is over 500, but I've learned to tame down my rev rate because I wanted to play straighter. Because lower now, I'm at like 420 something now. But
there's a standing joke, Mike. I'm rev challenged.
He's rev challenged.
Oh, y'all get a chance, you can watch some of my videos. I'm rev challenged too.
Yeah, I think he's around where you're at, Geek.
Yeah.
No.
I consider myself a tweener. Like I tell people all the time, and the bad part about it is the disadvantage of being a tweener is we can play straight, and when it's there, it's there. When it's not, it overhooks. We have to move our feet left, and then all of a sudden we can't get one back to the pocket. And when we do, we're weak 10 all day.
Yeah.
And that's why, it's called tweener. Like you're like, you got the rev rate, but then you move left, you don't have the rev rate.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I actually I was called a power tweener. Where yeah. I was on the higher end of the tweener. It was like, but I could really get on it. But anytime I could stay right, and especially if I'm playing 20, if I'm standing on 20 and it holds, you have no shot in hell in beating me because I know how to play straight. And I love playing straight. I wish I could play straight more. That's one of the reasons why I dropped to 14 pounds, because I wanted to get more speed on the ball so it kind of straightened out my reaction, because my normal reaction with 15 is almost like a hockey stick. I mean, sometimes the ball will hook twice. Yeah. So I had to go to something different to try to get me in the position to where I could play straight and play my strength. Like I've shot 800 swinging the ball and from 20 and out, but I'd rather be straighter because I get a much greater carry percentage as with that straighter and all that power going into the pocket. And trying to teach that to people these days, some people are just hard headed. They just don't want to hear. Learn how to bowl straight. It will help you.
They want to swing it, see all that motion.
Well, let me add on to y'all's point. Y'all said the Pete Weber, Steve Jaros scenario, 10 years difference in the making.
Yeah.
To that point, Walter Ray, I don't know if you guys saw, he's one of his most viral videos here recently that I've seen, has been, he shot a 300 in league, two-handed with a smiley face visible. Two-handed. Like you hear Walter Ray and two-handed and you're like, there's no way. That's like the complete opposite. That's like oil and water. But he has had and the thing about it is, it's like, and y'all know Walter. Walter is like the straightest player in the pro history, and there's a reason why he's the all-time title leader still to this day. Because again, it's like, and the same thing I just said with with Tony, they play straight. It's monotonous and boring, but it's like I will take monotonous and boring all day if I'm striking at will.
Yep.
So it's just, and I think that's another thing too is if y'all don't mind me here, I'm throwing just my straight opinion out here.
Keep going.
Go ahead.
Alabama just got high school bowling back in 2015, 2016. Very behind the eight ball on that. And one of the things that I see now with these high school kids, y'all, they don't know how to spare.
No.
Because they want a two-hand. Like, think about it. Like, Belmo's the hottest thing. They're like, oh, that guy on TV that two-hands it and strikes at will and everything. And again, no discredit to Belmo, of course, but there's a gap there. It's like I'm semi like I can get with the times, but I'm still that traditionalist type player. It's like, look, your spares are important. And then it's like if you finally get out there and you work with these, you work with anybody, to be honest. It could be a high school bowler. It could be somebody just bringing into the game. And a lot of what I've noticed lately is guys and gals getting back into the sport after almost 20, 30, even 40 years. And it's like you're still like, I tell people all the time, like, work on your spares. And the people that come into the shop, they're like, oh, well, I like watching the ball hook. I don't use my thumb. Okay, cool, no problem. Work on your spares. Well, man, I don't want to do that. I just want to watch the ball strike. Trust me, strikes will come at will no matter what. Spares mean the world. I tell people all the time, you realize if you non-spare the entire game, you're going to shoot 180 to 190.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got my certification. I'm coaching the juniors here now, and you are not wrong. And I watch these kids throw this big, super strong ball, and they'll get a bunch of strikes, and they're happy, and then they'll throw a ball, and they don't get a strike, and they're defeated because they have no idea what to do next.
Hey, if I could, y'all, Michelle on my part of the live here, she says, I have a question for all three of you, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah. Ask away, Michelle. What? All right. Can y'all see that?
Oh,
we can't. We get our own. You got to read it to us.
All right. So this says, when is it no fun anymore for you? Too many 300s, 800s as the example.
As far as bowling itself, it will always be fun for me. But what I do miss is I believe in helping everybody grow. I believe in everybody growing to a point to where they can be competitive no matter what. I started playing basketball. I wasn't a bowler. No, and I was a very athletic child. I could play any sport that I wanted to. And I just didn't decide to pursue basketball in high school and I pursued bowling. No, and I'm really good at it. So what makes it no fun, I mean, because it's still fun for me to go do, is just the lack of being able to see people be challenged. No, when I was younger, it was challenging. I like challenging things. It's like a puzzle. It's kind of like the internet right now. It's like everything's at everybody's touch. These bowling balls do a lot of the work for you. They give you dynamic core, which gives you 10% extra hitting power and all this stuff. Gone is the days that people actually worked to shoot good scores. That is what takes the fun out of it for me, because you have these, I hate to say it, wannabes that claim they're this, claim they're that, claim they can do all these things, but once you put them on a hard shot, want to take their head off and walk out. I literally seen a guy quit at Nationals right before this single set. Just quit, packed up his stuff and go. Why are you here? This hurts our sport because you're here for the challenge, not to bowl good all the time. And it's like people are afraid to get humbled. I don't mind being humbled. If anything, I'm going to learn from it, because the next time I do it, I know I'm going to be better. But these days, people just don't like to be humbled. And they rather see strikes all day and actually learn than when they actually go try to get some money and go against these real sharks out there like Belmo, Simo, Anthony Avery Spar, people like that, Kyle Troop, and get dog walked. Well, I thought I was good. No, you're really not. You're really not. But for me, that's what would say, that's the fun that's gone. It's no longer challenging. Everybody's shooting 300s. Everybody's doing it, but it's like nobody's earning it. Nobody's really working hard at their craft to make it better, and that's where I think that's why USBC charges us $30 and only gives us one ring a year.
Yeah, mine's an easy answer, Mike. I do it for you. I do it for Dwight. I do it for all of these people watching. I do it for the kids that I'm coaching now. Honestly, when I don't have as many 300s and 800s, and honestly, if I never get another one again, I'm okay with that. I really don't care. I'm going to continue to be the best bowler that I can, and I feel like I'm pretty good. And I get a better feeling out of if I am throwing 300. What are the people behind me doing? Are they enjoying this too? Like, it's almost like a show. They haven't seen a 300 before, and oh man, look at this guy. He's got all those strikes in a row, and then I get the 300, and they're all clapping, and it's fun, and they're having a great time, and then I'm having a great time. If I go throw 5 300s in a row and there's nobody there enjoying it with me, that's when it would be no fun to me. And as social as I am, anybody watching that knows me at all knows when I go to the bowling alley, which I will be in about a half hour here, my wife kicked me off our Friday fun team because I couldn't shut up. And I was 4 lanes down this way talking to Dave, and it was my turn. And then I was 6 lanes down over here talking to Joe and Sue. And I really, you and Dwight, all of the viewers, if you're having fun, then I'm having fun. It'll never not be fun as long as those things are happening.
I really like both of your answers. I really do. To answer my version of that, so again, I've always told people if there's ever a time that I'm going after a 300 game potentially, and I'm not the least bit nervous, it is time for me to put the stuff away and find something else to do. Mm-hmm. I still get those nerves, so I know that I'm still semi excited. I will say what makes it no fun for me anymore is when the amount, and I think you guys understand where I'm coming from this, when the amount of ego exceeds that level of fun, I think that is a really big buzz killer. And to be honest with you, it's one of the reasons that I'm not doing our Wednesday night league here in Huntsville. It's the most prestigious league in the house, and I wanted no part of it. And I told my boss, I said, mental health is extremely important to me. And the thing about it is, it's like I shot a couple of them 800s on that league last year, And here's the thing, y'all. I left that place in a bad headspace after shooting 800. And my thing is, it's like, if I am not, like, if you're not enjoying rolling an 800 or a 300 for that matter, again, like, you have to reevaluate yourself. And I've had to do that. So that part right there, it's like, I need to separate myself from it, maybe for a year, maybe two, whatever, and then kind of rediscover and refigure. But my biggest thing that pulls me back in is there's always those bowlers that, they shoot their first 200 game. I mean, and I'm like, I remember what that was like when I remember how I felt when I shot my first 200. I shot a 202 and I was so tickled. I was 13 when I did my first 200 and I was such a happy kid about it. And then I see that come back, tenfold to me from other people. It's like, Mike, I shot my first 200 game. And especially it makes me feel good with the ball that you drilled for them. That's me. That it's kind of, so my thing about it is, it's like, it gets to a certain level when it's not fun, you got to evolve and figure out another reason of where it still is fun. So that's kind of my evolution of it all.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yeah. I got a bunch of listeners in here that I'm an open book. They message me and I answer, and it doesn't matter where or what skill level they're at. I got Adam in here and I got Sarah in here, and they're lower average bowlers, but man, they message me and I respond and they enjoy that. Again, I don't care what I do. I'm going to do my best. If this person behind me is enjoying it and you're here and Dwight's here, I'm good. I really am good at that point. Like you said, if it becomes where I walk out of the bowling alley and I'm upset about anything, even if I bowl bad, I'm not upset. If I walk out of the bowling alley and I'm upset about anything, that'll be the time I'm going to give it up.
Mm-hmm.
Good questions. Good questions today. All right, so we are coming up on our final question. Mike, you're pretty thorough in your answers. You're answering like more than one question with one question, so hey, that's all great for time. So we're going to have this final question as far as tips. Do you have any tips for our guests, and tips about like things to change ball motion, like the different stages? Like, what would you suggest people do if they're getting into the game, really want to get better? What type of tip would you give them as far as how to improve their knowledge of ball motion and how to effectively change it?
Two things. One, I cannot stress this enough. Practice. It doesn't matter what you're practicing on. Work on being consistent at it. And the second thing is, and this is probably a very biased answer because I am a pro shop operator, listen to your PSOs. And the thing about it is, it's like, I'm not saying, like, I tell people all the time, it's like, look, you're going to have 1 million coaches in your ear when you're starting to do this because they see that you're enjoying it and they want to help you. They want to help you evolve that experience into something from good to great. But you're going to have 10 million people in your ear. My suggestion is find you a certified coach or find you one or two people you truly trust and put your faith and trust into them, and especially the pro shop operator. I say this because, and Joel and I have had discussions about this before, we do not have a reason to deceive you. We get nothing out of deceiving you. We get nothing out of putting you on the wrong path. And another thing about it is, and I guess maybe 3 points, excuse me, so 3 points. YouTube is great. Websites are great. Their tips and tools and everything to help you and everything. Use those sparingly. And basically, if it's not the tip that is fitting to your need at the time, put it to the side and save it for another day. But biggest thing is trust your pro shop operators. We are not there to, and for anything else, price wise, y'all, we're not trying to gouge you. I promise you. We want to see you get better because we know if we measure that hand right and you go out there and you bowl your best game or your best series, we did something right.
Yeah, motive is trying to price gouge people. I'm sorry, I had to say that. Motive.
And I'll tell you this: like, hey, look, that's their thing. But I have about 3 or 4 customers that I'll have to look at them. Like, they actually beat me to it now. They're like, hey, I want to get this ball, and I'm like, okay, you're looking at. He goes, I get it. And it feels kind of weird that, in the shop, I don't know. It's like the Army Green Jackal. I can't. There's so many jackals. I can't. I had a guy come in and buy a 12-pounder, and he paid full price for it, and he didn't even flinch. He goes, "That's the one I want."
Yeah.
And
what did Jay Shane tell us? Cash or card?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's the thing about it with cash and card. Yeah, see, this is where cash and card came from, y'all. When you come into the shop, and we're trying to meet in the middle here, like trying to help you get to where you need to be. I can give you the suggestion. If you have a friend that comes in behind you and starts talking to you about what this ball does and that ball does, at that point, no problem. Cash or card.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jay Shane said the same thing.
Yeah, he said the same thing. And I used to spend hours in the pro shop with Alex. Like, to this day, Alex has been the one and only PSO that I fully trust drilling my equipment. No, I'm sad to see him leave New Orleans, but it was like, to this day, nobody else has touched his skill as far as what he's done for me, as far as knowledge in the game, understanding what I'm looking at, what I want in drilling. So, to me, that person is Alex. And if I could, I would just talk to him hours. I'll leave work being up 2 o'clock in the morning, being there with him 3 or 4 hours after I got off of work.
Look, I got my introduction with the job with Bowling World because he was actually, I came on just as we were getting ready to move him down to Kenner, and I got my battle scar right here because I dropped one of his desks and I hit it right on my head. So yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. 1,000% support those pro shop guys and the PSOs, because they are the number one person who's going to steer you in the right direction first.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of people will take you in other directions after that, but I'm not on staff. I don't work for them, but I promote the pro shop here locally 1,000% because they are going to take care of me 100%. So
yeah. Any shout outs you have, Mike, that you want to give out to anybody before we close off the show?
Well, first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to you two for welcoming me on to y'all's show here. And basically the amount of love from TikTok. I just hit 2,000 followers the other day, and it's one of those things where it's kind of surreal almost. But just everybody out there on TikTok following me and subscribe to me. If you've not done so, please do so. I'm looking at my numbers. I said I'm at 45 subscribers. We're trying to get to 50 right now because we're actually going to be doing a jersey giveaway, a DGAB jersey giveaway if we get to 50. And another thing about it, I don't know if you guys know, but my buddies Dustin and Curtis, who are another intricate part of Damn Good Average Bowler, if we reach 100 subscribers, they're actually going to get the DGAB logo tattooed onto them.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all, let's make that happen.
I'm gonna have to go subscribe just for that.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, and I'll be the one getting in there holding my phone and doing the camera and everything, because I tell everybody I'm not a fan of needles, so you won't see me ever getting a tattoo. But those two, they love to get inked, and that's cool. So if we get to 100, we're gonna do that. But if we get to 50, we're going to do a jersey giveaway. So, yeah, I would love to have you guys come on. And but, no, like I said, it's just an exciting time. I'm actually happy that I was able to get some content posted on TikTok last night. I did my live stream of debuting the Pure Envy from Hammer. Needless to say, I really like that ball.
Okay.
But, follow, subscribe here on TikTok. I've got a YouTube channel. Subscribe over there, trying to get to 500 there. Like and follow on Facebook. Just type in Damn Good Average Bowler. You should see the logo. It's really easy to find. And I'm also on Instagram.
You made a believer out of me, Mike.
But trust me, I could tell the skill. Well, one more thing is a little surprise is this little thing right here. I've been talking about this for 6 months now. It is actually Stream Bowling's first cleaner. I haven't come up with a name for it yet, but there will be a video of actually demonstrating how this works. So you guys stay tuned for this. It is a cleaner that's going to be coming out, produced by yours truly, Go Time. I ain't got a name for it yet, but when I do come up with one, it's going to be a good one. We're going to actually have a video of how this thing works. Next Saturday, next week we won't be doing it on Friday. We'll be on Saturday, and we will have the great Sagira Wheeler, Dr. Sue from TikTok, also talking to us about the great TNBA. You don't know what that is? You're going to find out next week. But this is Stream Bowling. This is your host, Gold Time, Coach Geek, and this is Damn Good Average Bowler, aka Mike. This is us signing off. We'll see y'all next week. Y'all enjoyed the show. We enjoyed y'all. Deuces.
Thanks, guys.
Later. Thanks, Mike.